Welcome back to another exclusive Next Generation podcast interview with Lew Drass. Welcome again. Feel like we just saw you yesterday. I think. Oh wait, it was yesterday. We had an eventful day at the convention. We went through a lot of amendments. Chris and I took a big loss on ranked choice voting, but we'll try again. You're running for, like we talked about yesterday, you're running for president. I think we have a few questions that we've taken from a crowd, and I think Chris is going to start us off with a few questions.
Sounds good.
All right, Lou. Question here. Your candidacy kind of came as a surprise to a lot of people. Now you kind of stepped away for a bit. What brought you back into the race?
What brought me back into the race is the need to have somebody come forward and do something about the division in this union, to unite people. And I feel like I'm in the best position to do that. And I also feel like there's not a good negotiator. I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect. There's other candidates, but I am the best at negotiations, contract, all that sort of thing. Everything you need to be a president, I have. I'm the most qualified person for this job, and I just couldn't stay out of it. I'm sorry, but I'm in it to win it.
Okay, great. One question we got from someone in the hallway. Nominations are Wednesday. Would you be interested in taking maybe a different position like executive vice president? Because some people think that maybe that might be a better fit for you.
No. No, no, that wouldn't be a better position for me. I'm the best qualified to be president, and that's why I'm running for president. Now, somebody else running for president, they could do exactly what you just said.
Okay, another question. What were some things you would change immediately if you became president?
Immediately. The first thing I'd change is the fact that we're not doing interpretive disputes. That's something you can do. We're entitled to 2 dates a month for national arbitration, and we're not getting them. We're not even asking for them. We haven't had but one national hearing since I left. And that is the first thing that I'd want to do from day one. From day one, I'd want to do some minor things, like, for instance, give access to the arbitration program to all the members without you having to ask. I always thought that was wrong. And I always argued that we give it to all the members, but I didn't win that argument. And that's another reason why I want to be president, because then I can make decisions. I don't have to ask somebody for them to tell me no.
So we obviously know this. I'm sure you've heard of the CLC. They're walking around in their black T-shirts. Yeah. One of them really spoke out against Chris and I's amendments today. So just in case you want to recognize those people, do you have who's running on that slate? Do you think if that slate is elected, other than president, you can work with that slate? Corey, Kamitra, Ryan Cogier. There's the trustees are Groskopf, Howard Khomeini, John Cruz. Do you have a working relationship with any of those people? Do you think you can work if because you're not running on a slate? We're gonna get 2 slates tomorrow. So I think we know who's on the other slate as well. Do you have I know you have a working relationship with we'll call it the establishment slate, but can you work with all these people running for these positions?
I can work and will work with whoever the members decide they want to have. And I will predict this, and I really feel strong about this. The administration slate and the CLC slate, none of them are all coming in. It's going to be a mixed bag. Anybody who thinks that's not true is not paying attention. There's going to be some from this slate and some from that slate that come in. And I've known all these people for years and years on both slates. And I know everybody, and I think I'm in the best position to unite everybody. Because I'm not on either team. I'm going to be the coach.
So, Lew, since today we've been hearing about amendments to the Constitution, are there situations in the Constitution that you do not feel are being correctly? Or things in the Constitution that you feel we're not upholding correctly? Or things that you would like to see changed in the Constitution to better affect the members?
Well, I'll tell you this about the Constitution. We've had some problems in the last few years, granted. But because one thing happens that, that doesn't work out right, that it's wrong even, that's not a reason to change the Constitution to me. I think there's an overreaction to one thing that happened one time, and we're going to change the whole way we do things. What we're really doing, in a lot of ways, is saying, hey, we want to be APWU. And we never said that before. We never said that before, but we are now. We're trying to line our Constitution up to match theirs in different ways. And I think it's wrong. I don't agree with it, and I'm not going to agree with it. Now, as president, I'm going to honor the Constitution to the best of my ability. And if I didn't, and if somebody else doesn't, we have a process for that. They're called Article 10 charges. I think Article 10 charges, and I'll go this far, have been overused in the last few years. There's nothing wrong with, everybody has a right to do everything, that the Constitution provides for. But, we're spending our energy over there while we should be spending it fighting management. We're losing, if you use all your attention, because what Article 10 charges, yes, it could be a valid thing. But it also demonstrates infighting, between we're fighting each other. Well, we should be fighting management. We should all be doing this together. We should get on the same page. And that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to get everybody on the same page.
So, speaking of Article 10 charges, since you're not executive council, are there Article 10 charges that you feel the executive council has dropped and not voted the correct way, or a way that you feel differently, even going back to last convention with charges against Brian, the charges against the executive council for not following through with those stuff? Are there issues that you felt in the Article 10 charges? I know you said you feel there's a lot of them being filed, but in regards to the ones that were filed, do you feel they were handled correctly?
Well, Article 10 charges were filed against Brian. All that was hashed out at the last convention. And the idea, what I'm getting at, is then someone comes behind and in essence files the same charges again. So then you go through the whole process again. We shouldn't keep going around the same thing. Once it's done, we're supposed to move on. And we're not doing that. We're just still on the same place. We're going around in a circle. And that's got to stop, I think. Now, some people may not agree with me, and that's okay with me. But anyway. Oh, one other thing. Back to the first, what was some of the first things? I would get the website a little more user friendly.
I think they are doing that, but it's funny how
what when. It's always been. See, if I was president, you wouldn't have to say that, because I would have made it user friendly. I complained about this when I was vice president, but I couldn't get nobody to listen to me because I wasn't the decision maker. And this is another thing. People say, well, would you run for executive? Why don't you run for vice president? That's why. If I'm coming in here, I'm going to be able to make decisions, and I'm a good decision maker. And I'll listen to everybody before I make a decision. But sometimes, a lot of times somebody make a suggestion, and my knee jerk is, oh no, and then I'll think about it. Anybody could tell you this about me. I'll go home and think about it a little bit, and come back the next day and look at you and say, you're right. I have the ability to do that, where a lot of people don't. Once they get their head on something and they ain't getting off it. Sometimes you can think it through and reassess and weigh things, and it's okay to say that somebody else is right, especially when they are.
Question for me. So at the last contract, it took over 700 days to get through the last contract. A lot of people, probably all of us here, were really upset of it taking that long. Right now, it looks like we're going to mediation. What would you do differently when contract negotiations stall?
I would go through the mediation process. Then I would pick a national arbitrator, and I would plan on the whole time, not that we don't do that now, we don't prepare, but I would go. You have to go. Now, if the negotiations are still going on and you got a real chance, this wasn't the first time. It was the longest, 700 days, but it wasn't the first time we did that. And I don't really like that. I think, But when you go to interest arbitration, you're liable to gain something and you're liable to lose something. And most times, something, you don't get everything you want. That's the nature of interest arbitration. But I think we should resolve this, because the whole thing about it is, the way I see it, you go to arbitration, it comes out like it does. You're going to have this again. As soon as the contract's over, you're going to start over. So I just assume get this resolved instead of dragging it on like we did, and so I'm not a fan of dragging it on. I think you take your shot at arbitration. Hey, it might not come out the way you want. It might not come out the best, but you go down the road and you start bargaining the next one. That's what I think.
What do you think is fair, or we should be going after in the contract? Obviously there is what we deserve, and obviously the post office not going to give us that, but a fair ground that you would be looking for in a contract in regards to pay, times the top scale, and COLAs, work rules. What are the things that, if you were president in that, and also what would you present as an argument to get those things?
Letter work harder. They deserve better pay. There's no reason in the world, why a letter carrier doesn't make more money than a clerk. That is just wrong. It's just plain wrong. And you go back in time, and I'll take you to, and this is a long time. A lot of you you haven't been around that long at the post office. But, back in the day, this is a true statement. Postal Service has always, and still does, argue with us that about the word parity. They believe that every union should have parity. Nobody should make more than anybody else. And in 1999, we went to interest arbitration over this very issue. And arbitrator Fleischle, he granted us level 6 pay, which people don't know what that means now, but back then we were called level 5 employees. Level 6 was the T6 pay, so it was like 75 cents an hour more. And arbitrator Fleischle granted the NALC level 6 pay. So we rose above the clerks in that negotiation period. And I testified at that hearing. Very proud of that. I was branch president at the time. A lot younger than I am now, obviously. But that was a real proud moment in my career to be able to testify at that hearing. And I've seen 3 or 4 others that testified. Every convention we see each other and reminisce about that time frame. But anyway, somehow or another, through time now, and what it is we're heavier at the top end and lighter at the bottom end. But it don't work for folks no more. Go ahead.
I want to stop you there for a second. So I have a theory. When I started, I was 23 years old. And we used to you'd start young because you wanted a career as a post. It was great to get a job at the post office. If you, a couple years out of high school, maybe you went to college, it didn't work out, but you start young. Now what I've seen is people are starting later in life. Chris was 34. So you need to get to that top step quicker. And I don't think there's anybody that's at top step right now that would say, no, we don't want these people to get to top step quicker because we didn't. I don't feel like that would happen in this union, but I think they have to look into the fact that people are starting later in life, be it the post office financial situation, but I think they need to really look at getting these people to hire faster to top step, because if they don't, they're just going to keep losing people. We're not going to be able to maintain people, and I think that's what the post office wants. I think that was the goal of the CCA position, is to just not care less about the job. So I think one of the things, if I was national president in negotiation, I would work at getting people to top step quicker. More money, the more apt you are to do the job.
The first thing is first. Is starting pay for, if you're going to have now, I'm a big fan of all career workforce. All right, but it's been a bargaining position for 45 years, and it's not been achieved. I'm not saying it can't be achieved, but I'm a little different, because if it can't be achieved, I'm not going to say, oh, forget it then. We're done with negotiations. We can't have it. Oh, forget it. The CCA should be like the transitional employee. Those were non-career jobs. Before we had CCAs, we had what you call transitional employees. Transitional employees started. So you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So the thing about it is, when you made transitional employee, you made the same money per hour as a career step A. Now it should be a career step B because that's the first step. But they should come in at step B rate. Now that might not be good enough for everybody, but that's what it should be. I could say, yeah. Well, let's start them out at $50 an hour. I'm talking about reality. But it should be just like that. You start off at career salary. And I say this, why can't we get some sick leave for CCAs? Now, some people might not worry about it because they're already career, but you got to take care of the unborn. And I think that, and then the other thing is, the divide between clerks and city carriers has gotten wider through time. Wider and wider. And that's because of the proportionate COLAs. The two things that you have to have is better starting pay and full COLAs. And we can work from there about the steps. I don't want to see somebody have to take 13 years. My daughter started 10 and a half years ago. She made regular April 30th, 2016. She's on a top step. I said, little girl, you got 3 more steps to go. I mean, the good news is you're going to make more per hour, but the bad news is you're not doing it now. And everybody feels the same way, I'm sure. So we moved a step in the right direction with the last negotiations, much as everybody, about the contract. But we did get rid of step A. And that, what you call baby steps, But if you could, and in my opinion, if that arbitrator was going to issue that contract, we eliminated step A and B. And for that, we got 0.1% increase 1 year and 0.2% 1 year. And this is on the back end of the contract. To me, that was a worse deal than what we had to start with. That's what I think about it.
Yep. Oh, and I'll say this. Speaking as someone who was a 3.5-year CCA, I won't top out till I'm 17 years. So I'll be 51 by the time I get my top pay. So I get that. One question. What did stepping away from national leadership allow you to see that maybe you didn't see while you were in leadership?
I can't say as I saw a whole lot of anything. When I was at headquarters level, I always kept my ear on the ground, and I always have since I left, and I do today. And so I can't say that I was sitting in the ivory tower. Now, you can say that about whoever you want, but you can't say it about me, because I'm not an ivory tower kind of guy. I'm always, the whole time I was at headquarters level, just look at what I did, developing all these things for y'all, that are active and working on the workroom floor, like the grievance starters, like developing the formal A and beyond training program, like developing the arbitration advocate program. Those are things, and what I hate, we're not doing advanced formal A and beyond. Why? I couldn't explain. But that's another thing from day one. I would start that back up. Anybody that goes through that program will tell you it's great training, and it'll take you from wherever you're at.
You will.
Yes. It's great. It's an intense week. It's an intense. Oh man, I used to work the heck out of everybody. Oh yeah, I was up to 1 a.m. Yep, absolutely. That's the way it is. But that's the way it is in real life too. Yes. When you're doing grievance work, people think, and some people live like this where I'm not doing any of this stuff unless I'm getting paid for it, unless I'm on the clock. I've never been that way. And throughout my career, no matter what it is, you're going to do some stuff on your own time if you're going to be, if you're going to excel. And that's about the members, That's what it's about for me. So.
I think we have a question from the crowd. Okay. Say your name and take a seat, actually. Okay. Take a seat. It's fine. Get the business done first. I'm gonna just give it.
Well, we've met on lobby trips before. Right. Yeah.
Say your name and your branch, and then ask away.
Okay, Eric Ellis, Branch 231, Fresno, California, the breadbasket of the nation. Yes? Okay, well, anyways, my question for you, Lou, is up until about a year ago, you were doing the Drastic Measures podcast. I would listen to that. I listened to all the podcasts. Whatever happened with that? Because I appreciate listening to a diverse, views. I mean, I listened to Next Generation. I listened to From A to Arbitration. I listened to yours. Whatever happened? I miss listening to your podcast.
We gotta switch, or you gotta hold it. You can switch. No, I want to hold it.
Okay. So what happened was, to be honest with you, I'm just not tech savvy, and I never got the hang of editing, all that stuff. It was a lot of work, and I don't mind working, but I really didn't feel like I was reaching that many people. Now, I came to this convention, and I've had a whole lot of people tell me that what you just said, that they want, and I'm going to turn the thing back on. What I really wanted to do is make it like a radio program, really. That was my intent, but I never got that far with it. But we're fixing to turn it back on. And so you're going to have the Drastic Measures podcast to enjoy, and it'll be a choice for you. And another thing, to be honest with you, there was such a variety of podcasts. I really didn't, I guess I didn't think in my mind it was, that important to y'all. But I've been educated. I've been educated. I've been educated. Okay.
As a follow-up question, you were the NALC. Well, yeah, you were the NALC vice president, and so, even Corey Walton acknowledges that you were a very effective advocate. So I think losing that voice is a loss for the membership.
Okay. Well,
He does. Regardless of the relationship between you two, he did acknowledge that you were a very effective advocate and that you were one of his mentors. So I think that regardless of where you are in the race or what position you hold in the union, I think every voice is important. And you, with the experience that you have, I know that there's a niche of people who I know valued what you had to say.
And I'm going to turn the podcast back on, and I'll have plenty to say to you. But what I'd like to get to is where, you can call in and tell me what you want me to, talk about. What are you working on? What's your problem? What is it your subject? And I'm really good at that. When somebody says, "What about the?" I have pretty good recall, better than most, and I can pretty much answer. I'm not saying I can answer anything. Nobody can. But I can do a pretty good job at it. And that is what I want to get to.
Thanks, Eric. Good question. Good job.
All right, thanks. See you again.
Yes. And we're going to turn it back to Chris.
So there might be four or more. We're looking at four candidates, you being one of them. But what separates you from the rest of them?
What separates me from the rest of them is the fact that I've done national negotiations, and none of the rest of them have. Not one of them. I've done, interpretive issues. I've written lots of settlements. Now, I didn't sign them all. The president would sign them, but I would negotiate. The language that, it's this case, and you got to get in there and you got to think about 50 states. You got to think about 200,000 letter carriers. Whatever you're writing is going to affect everyone. And you got to be so careful about what you say and how you say it. And nobody has that kind of experience. They just don't.
So, being a contractual guy, what do you think is the biggest thing that reps out there nowadays are missing out on that you were saying NALC would teach them better with?
Perfect question.
Good job, Capone.
Has anybody ever heard of full-time flexibles? I have. When's the last time somebody filed a grievance to make a PTF a full-time flexible?
Well, we have the 39-hour rule, and I can tell you that I've recently filed a grievance, but they've got made regular in the meantime. So, because we have the rule now, if a PTF works, oh my God, I'm on a spot here, a certain 40 hours for 5 days a week,
6 months straight.
right? But
And that don't matter, and then leave don't count, right? And that's only if you're a 100 work year office, and the NBA office has a list of how many work hours your office is worth.
I will say that Tony Bossy, our RAA in Region 14, sends that email out in my branch. It just happens to always seem to fall on it, and we are converting it. But grievances in Region 14 are filed on that, and I would hope that in all the other regions they are as well. But they're not.
I haven't seen one case about this. I'm sorry, but I hadn't seen that. And the thing about your case, your guy got converted, but the next one will get converted if he made it.
Right.
You know? That's a good way to get PTFs to regular, which is a good way to get CCAs to PTFs.
Well, that leads to the question, what about doing that for CCAs? I mean, that PTF, the full-time regular thing, had been around when I started, and I remember they would look into it all the time in Boston when I was a carrier there, looking at that for CCAs. If CCAs are working 40 hours for 5 months straight, 5 days a week, it shows the need for a full-time position there, and using that to convert the CCAs.
Yeah, but they're not careers, so that language don't apply to them at present. Right. But another thing about this, if you're in a smaller office, you're less than 100 years, you still have a road. Because if somebody works the same assignment, see, the 100-year rule, 100 work year rule, it's any assignment. You don't have to work the same assignment every day. But let's say you're on a hold down for 6 months. You can get a PTF or PTF converted to full-time flex or to unassigned regular in any size office. Any size office. If you work the same assignment for 6 months straight. But you got to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and leave don't count. So if you take a day off or whatever, but you can't take leave to make up your 8-hour day for the sole purpose of doing that.
One of the things that I think regional and national should do more of is, and I've been saying this for a while, is rely more on the branch presidents that carry mail. And the way you can do that is through Zooms, through members. Brian does thing. I forget the website. It's like our members only WebEx. It's another one, and where we can tell them what's going on. Would you, if elected, would you do more national Zooms? I know around the contract, Brian did a few. He did a West Coast one, East Coast one. Would you be interested in doing something like that if elected?
Yes, I would. I think it's really because, there's always going to be something going on, and you're always going to have something to talk about. And, yeah, I would like to do that and share, what's happening with the members. Now, you can't say everything. You can't. I mean, people want transparency, and that's fine and dandy. But there's some things, there has to be some room for negotiations. Y'all ever done local negotiations? Do you go out every time and tell everybody what's going on? You don't, because then you're telling them what you're up to. There's got to be a little bit of a balance. Now, I like transparency. I don't mind telling what I'm doing. Anybody ever met me will know that, But there's sometimes you got to, like I say, have a little balance. You don't want to. That's like playing. Let's play poker. Okay. Well, here's all my cards. I'll bet $1. What do you bet? That's what you're. That's not. I hope what the members really want.
And so one thing you did mention about your podcast and how you had some technical issues. So technically, we have an official one, the Fight Like Hell podcast. Would you be interested in, if elected, would you do a weekly podcast? Because that podcast is the new newspaper. People are on the routes. We're always listening to it. I know one great podcast called the Next Generation Carriers Podcast. But would you be interested in doing a weekly podcast to give an update on the members of what's been going on?
What, with you guys?
No. I mean, if you'd like to.
Give us the show. Hell yeah, we'll take
Kind
it.
of thing I'd love to do.
You want us to be the NALC podcast?
Anybody, we'll do anything for the show. But
You guys are crazy. But I wouldn't mind having a weekly conversation like that. Now, am I going to pinky swear every week. You know, I would do a podcast. I'd like to do it weekly. You know, that would be my intent. But I would think every so often you're not going to be able to get to it. You know?
So every other week, you heard it here first.
All right. Time you pin them down like a fly.
We're joined by Margot O'Neill, the host of the Women's Round, co-host of Next Generation, host of the Women's Roundtable. I think she had a question, or no?
Yes, hello, my name's Margot. I just got out of my communications and branch newsletters class. It was a lot of fun. My question for Lew Drass. I just got here. I don't really know what you guys have already asked, but what did you think of the goings-on today? What do you think of the session so far?
Well, it's a democratic process. I think, you know, there's a lot of resolutions. There's a lot of constitutional amendments. I wish we had gotten further down the road. You know, but you got to get through them all. But, you know, every time a televote, you know, that is a little, everybody has the right to do that. You can do it every single vote. But when it's 3,500 to 1,500, you ought to be able to tell by division, and you ought to move on. Everyone doesn't have to be a televote. And by the way, I'm running for national president. Can I offer you a button? I hope I can get your vote.
I'm gonna switch it up because I went to the mic today and I said that there's a lot of division in the union. In my 20 years, I've never seen it like this. So we're gonna get a little positive. I'd like you to say something positive about Brian Renfro right now.
I think he does a really good job running this convention. I
would agree with that.
I mean, come on. You know, it was like yesterday. Come on, y'all. He said he's not running. Get over it. He's gone. That's what y'all wanted. That's what people wanted. But quit with the hatred. You don't have to be disrespectful. Let him have his last convention, and he's doing a daggone good job. That's what I think.
Say something positive about Mike Cariff.
Mike?
Friend of the show.
Yeah, no. I love Mike. Mike is running a positive campaign. You got to hand that to him. He's not being negative, and he's not hateful about anything. He's got ideas. You know, I don't agree with every one of his ideas, but he's got them. And he believes in what he's doing. And to be honest with you, I wished I could convince him to run with me as my executive vice president, but I cannot do that.
Well, you were basically accused of that today. Chris and I wanted to do ranked choice voting for the democratic process, and someone accused you guys of colluding on the democratic process because of wearing buttons of all things. So let's not be afraid of buttons. But we're going to stay on track here. Say something positive about James Henry.
James Henry, he's been around a long time. He's a good friend of mine. I love him to death. And he's a great advocate. He's a great lots of things. But one thing, all of them have not negotiated at the national level like I have.
And we got to end on, because I believe she's announcing tomorrow, say something positive about Secretary Nicole Ryan.
She's a great gal. I love her to death. You know, I wished I wasn't run. I didn't have to run against her. I really, that's hard. Yeah. But I feel like I have to do what I'm doing, and I hope that y'all bring me in. I do, and if y'all do, you'll see, and if you don't, you'll see that too.
If we don't, the Drastic Measures podcast will soar up the charts. Soar up the charts.
What does that mean?
Rise in the charts. We never won upon.
Oh, it could happen like that. But I won't just abandon. You know, I'm not a bad loser or a sore loser. Whoever wins, if it's me, I'm not going to do this. But if it's anybody else, I'll be the first one to call, congratulate them, offer them a hand if they need one, that kind of thing.
Well, it's just funny that you were being so gracious there, because I was going to say something unkind about all of your opponents, but I'm just kidding. I'm absolutely just kidding.
But I wouldn't do it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Chris, do you have anything? I won't put you on the spot. Capone doesn't like to be put on the spot.
What's an article of the contract that you wish was made more clear during negotiations?
8, 12. 8 and 12 to me are the most hard to understand for people. That's because you ain't going through 12. And you hadn't gone through 12 since about 2012. And back in 2012, 2013, that's when they were closing remote sites, they were closing plants, and you had withholding all over the country where nobody could get converted. It was a battle. It was a war back then. And understanding Article 12, I wrote a guide for understanding accessing rules. That's still on the NALC website. And that is I was trying to think of a way to make some sense for somebody, to make it in a logical order so you could understand Article 12. But it could come a day, it very well could, where that's in play again. And I am good at Article 12. I am. That was that's a strong suit for me. And it ain't a strong suit for everybody, but it is me.
I think we're going to take another question from the crowd. Say your name and your branch.
Hello, my name is Anthony Osuna. I'm from Branch 1291, Modesto, California. The question I asked for you, Lew Drass, is if you were elected president, what is your goal with economics for city carriers, for CCAs, or PTFs? And if you could you try to get us all career workforce by eliminating the CCAs and making PTFs?
Well, Plan A is to have an all career workforce. But I'm a realist, and I recognize the fact that that's been a bargaining position for 45 years. Now, that doesn't mean it can't be achieved. But if not, you got to have the starting salary raised up. And it should be, for a CCA, the unborn who hadn't been hired yet, they should be paid the same wage as an entry-level career. And they should get some sick leave like everybody else. And I would like to eliminate some steps, but more important to me than that is to full COLA for everybody. No proportionate COLA no more. And those are the two big ticket items I have. And also the idea of trying to get you to top step quicker. Does that answer your question?
I think it did.
Okay.
You get him a raise.
So, speaking of accessing
I'm
and
not talking about getting you a raise that's unrealistic. I am speaking about realistic goals that should be able to be attained.
you made me think of it when you mentioned accessing, but what is your stance on the CNDCs? SNDCs, I apologize.
You know what that is? It's what you call DUO. You know what DUO is? Delivery Unit Optimization. When I was, I got that because what the Postal Service started doing is they would take one office, they'd leave the window open, take all the carriers and bring them to this other office. And it was not a real rule in the contract for this. We had to write, and that was one of the first things I did when I went up there as Director of City Delivery is write that agreement about DUO. And we had to write two agreements because the reason we wrote two agreements was one for the basic rules and one for the LMOU. Because you got to merge the LMOUs because now it's one installation. This is this exact same thing. It's a bigger deal because there's more offices coming in, but it's all the same thing. And so I really believe, and you may think I'm crazy, but one of these days somebody's going to say, why are we doing that? And they're going to undo these things. That's what I believe. I said that when they did the duos, and sure as I'm sitting here, that's exactly what happened. They would duo and duo and duo all over the place, and then they would unduo. And then you got to figure out what to do with everybody. Because by then, you've bid over to her zone, she's bid over to your zone, and when it comes time to go back home, who goes? So that's the one thing I didn't achieve, and I apologize for it, is the after when they undo it, an agreement on how that's done. So we always took that one thing at a time. Everything was a different puzzle, and you got to solve each puzzle. But we didn't have a solid rule for all that. But all the agreement about S&DCs, all that came. Go look and read them. Go look at the Delivery Unit Optimization agreement, and you'll see what I'm talking about. they took the language that I negotiated for that and used this. Now that might mean me the worst guy in the world, but that's how that agreement came to be. They used a lot of that same stuff, And the one thing, the LMOU thing, and the reason why we did that, because the LMOU thing, there's a what you call an ADR process, right? So first, the local parties try and come up with something. They take this local agreement, that local agreement, and they try and negotiate one local agreement. And where they're not successful, it goes to the region. And where they're not successful, it goes to headquarters. And that's it. Kind of like the joint route adjustment, ADR. So that's why I wanted to put that in two different memos, because the LMOU memo had an exit door, had a back door you could get out of it. Because I was like, look, if you're not going to sit there and not end up solving this and just leave us in limbo, we'll get out of the thing. So,
I think we got another question from the crowd.
Thank you so much. Edmund, Branch 24. By the way, clever name for your podcast, Drastic Measures. I just have to tell you. But anyways, your podcast, your education, your background, Lew, you've done a lot for this union. I first want to say thank you so much, on behalf of all the carriers here. But what has been your greatest accomplishment as far as the union goes?
Wow. It's hard to name one, my greatest accomplishment, I think the training that I've developed that lives today, the NALC Guide to Route Inspections, seeing it come to life, seeing it used, training advocates, writing putting together the arbitration advocate training program, and then having people come. And it's like planting advocate seeds all over the country. And you get to watch them grow by reading all the awards that come out. That is very rewarding. It really is. And seeing the fact that every time I review a case, and I still review cases for some of the regions, they'll call me and they'll send me a case, and I'll review it and give them my opinion. But when I'm doing that, when I look at the local level, they're using grievance starters. That's rewarding. Is that your greatest accomplishment? That's kind of hard to say what it is. But I can tell you there's a lot of rewarding things that have happened and continue on. Now, I've been gone 3 years. It's not like I've been gone 30 years. But it's really cool that they've been used. Some of them have been there for 10 years, 15, whatever it was. Like the route inspection guide I wrote that. We got out of a joint route adjustment process. And I knew they were going to start doing 6-day counts. Of course they are. So I wrote that thing while we were in the process. So as soon as we came out of it, it was like, bang, here, go. And in that book, the forms description in the back. Have you ever looked at this?
Not the back, but I've looked at the book. I will when I get back.
When we get back, this is your homework. All right. Go look at the forms descriptions. And you can see every single route inspection form. There's an example of one. And then there's a description of it. And it teaches you can be self-taught how to be an expert in route inspections by just going through this exercise. And you can learn every one of them forms. And once you learn that one form you're looking at, you know them all. And it's a way to really get some education if you're going to be a steward and handle route inspection cases. That's route inspection cases. It looks like it's you have paperwork this big or whatever it is. It's not that difficult. It's not as complicated as it looks. And here's another thing. I want to not whine, but I want to. Well, anyway, I want to complain. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. I want to complain about something that really, really ticks me off. When we have route inspections these days, and they do a $39.99, and they start that waiting time crap. So you're doing something, and they put you on waiting time. And one of the things they put you on waiting time for 100% of the time is backtracking. Yes. Yeah. Tell me a letter carrier, with all the packages and stuff we have today, how in the hell sorry, how in the world can you not miss a package? You know, if you could do that, God bless you, but everybody's going to, not that you're not going to miss the same one every day, but you're going to miss one. You're going to have to go back and hit it. They want you to go deliver it. They should not take that time away from you. It's part of your job. And I got a real, I don't know. Anyway, that shouldn't happen.
I think we got another question from the crowd.
Okay.
Hello, Robert Walker, Branch 24, Los Angeles, California. I had the opportunity to speak with UPS and FedEx employees, and I'm noticing that, they make a lot more than us, and they move up the pay scale a lot quicker than we do. Are there any plans in the future to maybe get the same salary as they're getting, or?
Oh, I don't think FedEx. UPS. Yeah.
UPS does make more per hour. Should we be compared to them? Yes. Have we been? Because it's the language. This is something we've thought about in every interest arbitration that we've ever done, is saying who's comparable to city letter carriers. We believe UPS. Post Service believes pizza delivery people. And are we ever going to achieve that kind of wages? I'd like to. But can I sit here and tell you, oh, yeah. Yeah, sure, Robert. Here, look. I'm Lew Drass. I'm running for president. Want a button? Vote for me. I will try. But I'm not going to sit here and commit to something like that. I'm just not going to tell people stuff. Some people can do that. I ain't promising you the moon and delivering, nothing. But I will promise you I'll work really hard, and I'll deliver. But I don't know if I'll deliver what he's wanting.
I think we got a question from the face.
Yep. And just one question I do have. If there's something you can do one promise today on this show, what could you promise people that you will commit to doing if elected?
I'll work day and night for letter carriers, and I'll commit to spending all my time trying to bridge the divide that exists in this union, because I think the division that we have now, it makes us weak. It makes us look weak, which makes it harder to bargain. We should all be strong. We should all be rowing in the same direction, as I like to say. And that's a commitment I can make. I can commit to straightening out the website. I can commit to fixing some of the internal things that I have complete control. If I'm president, I have complete control over certain things. I will commit to you that I ain't going to sit there when it's time for bargaining and spend a year after bargaining is over negotiating. I will not do that. I'll commit that to you. I will get you to arbitration. Now, you may not like the results, but I may not either. But don't you want to know? Yeah. And like I said before, once that's over with, you start over. You're going to start over anyway. This thing about, well, we got a contract today, and 2 months from now we're starting bargaining again. That's a little too much.
Margot, I think we got another question.
Hello, my name is Guy Podzorski, and my branch number is 3126, Royal Oak, Michigan. And I have a couple questions. One, I know you do stuff with route adjustments and the training of route adjustments to people who are in the NALC trying to enforce the management to do their job properly. And you do I've heard a lot of favorable things about what you're doing. But my question is, how important is it for anyone in the who is monitoring route adjustments to also monitor the amount of clerks that the supervisors and managers and operations department are allowing the clerks to work hours to get the mail to the letter carrier during a full-blown route count? And then the second question is, Does it bother you when you're introduced, everybody says, Lou? Does it bother you? Does it sound like they're saying boo?
All right, I wanted to say this. See the top of my button?
I see it.
So no, it doesn't bother me a bit. You want to hear a story? Yeah. I'll tell you a true story. So when I ran for business agent, right, that was just a long time ago, I barely won. I won by 33 votes in Region 8, and 33 votes. So the region was split. And this is another thing where I feel like I've got the best chance. I brought that region back together. The first convention after, so we were dead split at the point of election. So this was, the convention was in Hawaii that year. Were you there?
No, I believe, yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so when you know how they announced the business agents, Region 1, and everybody claps and stuff. When they got to Region 8, they were Lewing me. And at the time, the president was Bill Young. So we're walking after that, we were walking out in the hallway or whatever. And I happened to be walking right next to him. He says, "Don't worry about it, brother. It'll get better." I ain't lying. This is a true story. I said, "Bill, they ain't booing, they're lewing." And ever since, and so it's a term of endearment, and I appreciate it. I really do. I don't think anyone's booing me at all. They're lewing me. And
But with the Rochester, they do not schedule the clerk.
they don't schedule.
Get the mail. They don't have to hide the mail.
Right.
Cut their hours.
Right. But wait a minute. I want to answer your question. Yeah. But I think what they do during a route inspection is, if anything, they bring more clerks, so it has a false look. You know, all of a sudden, we used to have clerks here. They bring you some mail, and you say, "What in the world?" You know, because you have to go get the mail. Yeah. So they bring it to you while you're on route check that 1 week, and then the rest of the time it's a different way. They shouldn't change any procedures during the count and inspection week. And that is something that's true. But another thing that's true is we don't have enough clerks in many places. So therefore, it takes longer to sort the parcels.
Shift them around.
Yeah.
You get around by not getting the mail properly to us.
Right.
Inspection.
Right. But even after inspection in the daily life, it takes them too long to sort packages. And so the Postal Service, instead of having enough clerks, they go, you know, let's change start times. Let's make the letter carriers come in later. That'll fix it. Rather than hiring enough people to sort the packages and whatever and get you out of the office to have stuff ready for you. And that's a problem. That's something that I'd like to address, that right there. We shouldn't have letter carriers starting at 9 o'clock, especially when you want to work them 12 hours. And that's reality, we do that. Now, some letter carriers want to work 12 hours, and God bless them. And some want to work 14 hours. But a lot of letter carriers don't want to do that. My point being, I don't think we should be having to work to 10 o'clock at night. You know, it happens, and some people do it, and that's the way it is. But we should be able to start earlier, especially in the hot summer months, where you're out there in the worst part of the day, you know, all day, and where it didn't have to be like that. You could at least get out earlier and get a little bit, you know, of your route done before it gets hotter in Hades, you know. But that's a big issue to me.
Well, I'm going to hand it back to Chris, Lou, but I want to thank you for spending time with Capone and I yesterday, and with the five of us today. And
Fix it in this thing?
we'll go all night if you want.
We got another question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We got one more audience question. Say your name and grade.
Absolutely. My name is. Okay. I was working on it.
Hey, what's your name and grade?
All right, you know what? I'll be very thorough. My name is Travis Miller. I started at Branch 330, South Bend, Indiana. I moved to Bozeman, Montana. Branch 1028 is where I've been for the last 12 years. There you go. This is what you want, right? This is the backstory. Lou, I was a former TE. To a full-time regular. I'm a topped-out Table 2 carrier. It was you were part of the administration that was the DOS award. What assurances, let me say this, I see the DOS award as the kicking of the snowball that has rolled into where we are now in 2026. and has resulted in the division in our union and what is turning our craft into an undesirable job. And I'm curious what assurances your presidency would give us that we can possibly reverse this or won't happen again.
Well, I can tell you this. We're going to do our best to put forth the best case NALC can make at interest arbitration. Now, the cost of going to interest arbitration is you can't predict how it's going to come out. I can't guarantee you how a case is going to come out. I can't do that. I wished I could. I'd love to do that, but I can't. Now, I want to chase the COLAs. I think the proportionate COLAs should have never been. You know, I think that CCAs should have always been paid transitional employee salary. But I didn't make that rule, and I didn't have anything to do with the financial negotiation. I've never had anything to do with that because that's always been the president's job. So I'm saying to you, give me a shot at it, and I will do my best, and I will produce results. And I just want to offer you a button and ask you for your vote.
1028, Bozeman, Montana. The Montana delegation has 8 people here. So.
Wow. Hey, you know what? That's about half as many as come to the convention. I've been there before.
I appreciate your time. And,
yes, sir.
I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You give me a chance. Yes, sir. And you just give me a chance, and I'll show you. But I can't do that unless you vote for me. So take that button and turn it into a vote.
Chris? All right, so I'm just wrapping up here. I just want to thank. This is great. Oh, okay. I know you. All right. Name and branch, please.
Join the party. Camera's not my thing. All right, Aaron Doherty, Branch 70, San Diego, California. I have a question for you. Oh, first I have to say thank you for, I was born and raised in Riverdale, Maryland.
Oh, cool.
And you were my mailman.
Where'd you live?
Carter's Lane.
Huh?
Carter's Lane.
No kidding.
You know Woody. That's my neighbor.
Who?
Woody.
Oh, he was my postmaster.
Yes, sir. I was never allowed to touch his grass when I was a child. And then when I became a mailman, I knew why. Don't cut the lawn. And so I just had a question for you, given today's events and how things went. There's a clear gap between the older generation and the newer generation coming in. And a lot of concerns for the new people I'm seeing is that they don't have that mentoring, or they don't have the knowledge. I hear a lot that knowledge is power, but it's power only for those who hold it and don't use it, right? And so facilitating things going on, for example, a lot of our resolutions and things like that, there's a lot of questions, and it's good to have dialogue about what's going on in the process. And so coming into conventions, I guess the question would be is how can we prepare some of the newer generations to help us facilitate what they're already trying to do, but in a more productive way so that the older generations, can make that better. And so how would you help resolve that?
Are you talking about resolutions on how to, all that, or are you talking about general education?
Yeah, general education. So more along the lines of having them understand the process of what the convention and what a delegate does and how that process works. More about getting that information out there in a good, productive way, maybe even in a podcast scenario of where someone could teach them, okay, this is how a vote will go. This is why they're voting this way. This is why they're voting that way. And when they vote this way, for another example, like today we had a resolution and they talked about this resolution will snowball, that resolution will snowball the next. And so there's a lot of questions in there, and people were, well, how come we don't just vote on that resolution? And just explaining more about the whole process itself as far as like when they come in order, why they're numbered that way, so that, that's for tracking purposes, or more like, just getting that newer generation that education, but so that they're coming in as a delegate to a stronger body and a stronger way of voting and a stronger unity, even if we are divided.
what you're bringing up is a really, really good thing. You're making me think. I'm thinking, well, you could do, because you have this informal Step A thing now, where we call it the NALC University, and you could do something along those lines, and have it out there, and this is because nobody really. I never knew anything when I first came to conventions. You're learning what you call the school of hard knocks, right? But you could make it a little easier. You might not be able to get them all the way, but you could. That's a really good idea.
So how would you help facilitate that?
We'd create the same thing I'm talking about, like that university thing. You could do a PowerPoint, and you could do people talking, and you could even do some role play if you wanted to. But what you can't do is I wouldn't want to do actual resolutions. There's all these resolutions, and then people will say you're trying to sway people. You're trying to tell them how to vote. You can't. You got to stay. You can do more of a general thing. And
I think that's a really good question because how many he's well, here you go.
all right. No. You didn't stump me. You're making me think about how to do it. Yeah.
We need more discussion. We need more. Okay.
You let me as national president, and we will do something about it, because it's really a good thing what you're saying. For the national convention ain't the same thing as a state convention. It is and it ain't, And the idea of, because some people don't even realize that we don't vote here, or, there's all kinds of stuff you could do. So like I say, you got my mind turning. I ain't stumped. I'm thinking about the how to do it already. But take my button, vote for me, and I will do something about this.
Thank you for your time.
And listen, if I come in, you got to call me and say, "Member, I'm not going to forget you, but you can still call me and say, hey, member." It's all recorded anyway. So it's live. I'm on record. No. I'm not going to dodge nothing. Yeah, I'm telling you, I will do something about it. I think it's a great idea what you brought up. I'm really glad you asked this question. Seriously. What was your house? 5510?
Nope, 12.
Okay. So you were 2 doors down. You were 2 doors down from Austin's. Yeah.
Small world.
Absolutely.
In California.
Yeah. Go figure. Hold on, I got to get a hug from you. Come on. You all mind?
Yeah, go ahead. There you go.
Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Aaron. Hey, Lou, before we wrap up, I have a question. Do you think the AFL-CIO delegate position is underutilized in the NALC?
I really don't know, to be honest with you. I've never had I've never been to an AFL-CIO convention. I don't understand everything that goes on at an AFL-CIO convention, so I'm not in a good position to tell you. Yeah, is it under you? I don't know. What else can you do? But to me, the AFL-CIO delegates go to the convention, and I think that's their role. That's the best I know about it.
I know a couple people running for that. If they maybe wanna speak on that.
What a great segue. Thank you very much. I think, all right, so it's typically this is viewed as a ceremonial position, but there is a slate out there called the stand-up slate.
You gave buttons, they're going to give you this.
We will give you one of those. Some of these people might be running on Thursday. So we want to bring up some ideas, things like single-payer health care, because we have workers who get locked out and lose their health insurance. Keep putting these up, whatever it takes. That's wonderful. Yeah, we know.
Come on, man. It's equal time here.
That's right.
All right, fair enough.
So we have some ideas that we think are going to put some movement back in the labor movement because, like you said, a lot of people don't know what goes on in these positions. They're kind of just treated as you go to a thing, take a picture with the politician, and go home. But we have a slate out there with some more ideas, the stand-up slate, cross-promotion. But yeah, we'll be doing that on Thursday, and hopefully some people will vote in favor of us on Thursday. So thank you.
I've got an idea. I got a bone to pick with the AFL-CIO whole situation. Whenever we did our, our grassroots politician stuff, we're letter carriers. We know how to set up a route. They don't.
No.
It's horrible.
Yes.
Every time, you ever gone door to door?
Yep.
You know how bad it is.
Yes.
That is what I would ask you if you get elected to go try and fix.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
That's serious business. That's the first thing you do when you get one of them envelopes. You start going through and setting up the route to make some daggum sense.
Yep. That's all right, folks. Well, that's an endorsement of the CLF of our slate. That's not.
And since we're talking about the slate, I'll just pick it up. So the members of our slate, myself, Margot O'Neill, Chris Sampieri sitting right there, John Murphy's behind the camera, Sarah Cuello from Branch 825, Oak Brook, Illinois, Jonathan Morris, y'all know him as Badmouth, Branch 226 in Fort Worth, Texas, and Joshua Towney in Branch 55, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Our 4 principles here are universal health care, along with paid paternity leave and no wars to fund infrastructure instead. Workers' Party, because Wall Street has 2 parties and workers need one of our own. A 32-hour work week with no loss in pay, which is already an official bargaining position of the NALC. And the trillionaires should not exist. Tax the rich and corporations. So that's what the stand-up slate is on. The AFL-CIO already agrees with a lot of us on stuff like that. And we just want to really bring the fight. I believe we're voting on Wednesday, and then nominations on Wednesday, voting on Thursday. If you see us here at the convention, come say hi. Just wanted to plug it and make sure. We also have an awesome website, Stands. It's STANDSUPSLATE.com. So check us out.
You really talk fast. No, I don't know about too fast. But I'll say this. I'm not on anybody's slate, so you guys, I would be happy to work with you. And, I'm in the best position to work with you guys. I'm not bad, I hope you win.
Thank you very much.
How about that?
All right. That sounds great. And if anyone has anything else, we're good? All right. Well, Oh, Barry! Hey, Barry! Take a seat. Come on.
My glorious Vice President, Bubba.
Here we go. One of the best vice presidents in the NALC. The privilege tonight. Okay, so Barry, we'll turn it over to you. I don't know what branch he's in yet, but.
I do have a late. Let me get this. I don't want to be hidden. All right, so Lou, today I guess I'm going to ask you Barry Glines, branch 764. That of Massachusetts. All right, so today during the main session, I guess your personal opinion on the change with Amendment 15 regarding a constitutional change, Article 9, Section 1. When you were on the executive board prior to you coming back and running, were you ready if something was to happen like that for collective bargaining back then? If you were...
I was never executive vice president. So I concentrated when I was there on contract bargaining. So I would have article, let's say, 15, 16, 17, 31, like that. They'd give me some article 12. And that would be my role, is to concentrate on that. So was I ready to take over the whole financial thing? Did I know all about it? No, I did not. And it's one of them things, like, it's like local negotiations. They don't share everything about the financial negotiations. It's limited to just a select few. But I had my role, and my role was contract, and that's what I did. But, I don't know how you're supposed to make notes. I'm not quite... I'm still processing what that resolution tells you to do. But yeah, we've always made a written record of all proposals in those kinds of things. And those end up being official proposals. We have drafts that go back and forth, and and everything's off the table. It's non-binding stuff until you get to the serious end of it. And the reason for that is because then, let's say we want, it's not to do with full COLAs. Let's say we want to change Article 8 in some way. We want to say that, let me think. They can't mandatory you. We make a proposal for that. this is a bad example, but let's just say we did that. We make that proposal, and then we don't achieve that. And then they call that an unachieved bargain. So then we go out in the field and we try and grieve it, and the next thing you know, that's an unachieved bargain, you know? So that's used against you, like a sledgehammer. You follow me? So it's always, you try and make it to where you don't have an official proposal, official proposal until you get to the end of it, because otherwise you can't hardly bargain. Because if everything you put across the table, then they can say, oh, the chief bargain, you know, we're never going to have proposals. This happened in the consolidated casing. Y'all remember this? Yes. Okay. It went to national hearing. The first day of hearing came, and our lawyer walked up to me at the end of the hearing. He says, are you going to be here for you know, it was December 20 or something. I was thinking, I was going to go home for Christmas. Jeez. Yeah, I'll be here. But they wanted to cross-examine me. And what they tried to do is shove in front of me something that wasn't a proposal. It was what you call, it was unofficial bargaining that we were doing. And this lawyer on their side tried to make it like it was a proposal that then they could say was unachieved bargain, and therefore win their case like that. It was a cheap shot. I always remember it. Now, I want to offer you a button and ask you for your vote. Okay, you going to vote for me? Okay.
Before one last question from me. I'm sorry. A concern that I've heard from carriers, I heard it the week before I left, was
it's called off-record bargaining.
Off-record bargaining. Okay. A concern I've been asked as a local president is the election, the new administration, especially we know there's going to be a new president, will take over on December 13th. I believe that the arbitration will not be done by then. I don't know what your feelings on. Should the rank and file carriers be concerned with the changeover in the national president in the middle of arbitration? I know negotiations are over, but should there be a concern that someone else is now in charge? I know the national president is a witness at national arbitration for contract. It's really the lawyers, but should there be some concern among the rank and file about that?
All right, I'll make a prediction. I think that if Brian Renfro was asked to testify, he would not just say, hey, you don't want me, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. I don't believe he'd do that. I don't believe that's the kind of person he is. I know everyone's got their, how they feel about him and all that. He's leaving. But he's not hateful toward letter carriers. Right. And he's not hateful toward anybody. He's just not. Now, everybody can be hateful to him, but he doesn't, you don't see him responding to all these,
Well, a couple people had stupid T-shirts on today, and I don't care if people disagree with me; they're stupid. I would say get a life. But with Brian, if you're wearing a T-shirt with Brian's face on it, you might want to go talk to somebody.
I saw something on the internet on the Facebook. It was like he's up there talking, and somebody paints a clown face on. Come on, y'all. I mean, why you gotta be so damn mean? You don't have to. We're brothers and sisters here. Whether we're all in the same family.
Attack ideas, not people.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that people aren't, they don't like him as president. Fine. He's leaving. Get rid of him. I always said that. Vote him out. But all you're doing is making more division. And it's going to be harder and it's going to be harder than it had to be. But I don't think you should be concerned about that. And even if he didn't do that, somebody else will, like me.
Sorry, I'm getting my second wind. Where do you think Brian's working a year from now?
I have no earthly idea. I don't know that I think that probably he'll have job offers once the word gets out that he's leaving. Probably. Maybe not. I don't really know. He might be carrying mail here.
Do you think he's going to be carrying mail?
He may be. I don't think he's above the idea of carrying mail. I really don't. It could happen that way. But, I can't answer for him what he's going to be doing a year from now. Now, I got a crystal ball, but it ain't that good.
If you got any bets for me to place, that'd be nice. But I'm going to turn it back over to Chris.
I'll do this. I'll lay Long Green down with you. He won't be in management.
I don't think he'll be in management either.
He might not be with the Postal Service, but he wouldn't do that, ever.
All right. Well, I just want to thank everyone, all the viewers for watching. I want to thank Lew Drass for coming on the show, and everyone here for doing the whole interview with us. This was a lot of fun. I learned it was right, and you had a reunion. The reunion was the highlight. So that was wow.
We should do this again.
Maybe just you two just talk about the old neighborhood. You know, like
I can't believe that. That is such a small world.
in California, y'all met.
Yep.
That's
Now,
okay.
do you want to hear the story about this? I'll tell you a quick story because it makes me think about it. I hired in as a clerk, all right, and I worked there was a small office, and it only had like 5 people in it, and the postmaster was one of them. And he had this gal, he was like sweet, I don't know, it was like, you could be waiting on customers at the window, and the phone would ring, and you'd have to say, excuse me, and run around over to the phone while those two were just sitting at this desk. And you'd have to say, Riverdale Post Office, Lew Drass, may I help you? Why you got customer over there? Well, these guys are doing nothing. Anyway, it was horrible. This guy, he looked for any small little thing that he could find about me all the time. If I finally wanted to transfer to the letter carrier craft, and first he wouldn't let me. He turned me down 3 times, this guy. I finally got to the letter carrier craft. Okay. I'm a PTF, and I finally been on a route, and he ended up having to retire because he got himself in some kind of thing. So I end up being his mailman after all that. And I remember one time I walked out, he was at the fence because he had nothing better to do now. And he was at the fence, and I said, you know what? I hated you, but you made me better because you made me somebody that don't want to make any mistake on anything, you know? But anyway, that's a story. His name was Woody Austin.
That was it. Woody, come on, Woody. Yeah, there you go. That person was David Steiner. Okay, folks, that was who he really was. So remember that. He was the bully to Lew. So thank you. This whole thing should just have been that episode. All right. So
you guys raged all this, right? This is all put up.
we did. It's like
We're bring people in.
This is it. All right. So, thank you all for watching. We'll be probably doing more live casts this whole week. So, if you are running for office, please come on the show. We're great people, right? So, there we go. Okay, see? There we go. All right. Thank you very much.